So I'm Joel Stoner from Ultramedia, and today we're obviously talking about what's new in Studio Suite. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. This will be about 60 minutes, and I'm assuming you're familiar with Studio Suite X already, the previous version. Obviously, I'm not going to go over what's new from all the previous versions. And if you are kind of new to Studio Suite, next week we'll be doing a full ground up overview of all of Studio Suite. So if you're new to Studio Suite, check in for that. There'll be a email going out in the next day or three inviting you to that. We are recording this webinar and we'll get it up on the site. So if you have to bail early, we'll have it for you to watch. And some of what I'm showing you today is actually based on a series of videos I did prior to our launch, going over some specific features. And that those videos are available at the address there, and also just from our site. If you go down to the videos section, you'll be able to find them. And you may have questions as we're going along, so just type them into the chat area. And I'll try to answer them either in line or at the end. So let's get started. So these things that I want to talk about, there's 7 themes. We've been talking to a lot of our customers over the past few years about the things that they need. Obviously, the workflow is changing a lot in the world of studios and productions and everything like that. So we're wanting to stay up on that. So what people have been telling us and what we've put into Studio Suite XI is kind of broken down into 7 themes. First one is accessibility. And so with Studio Suite XI, we've got access to Studio Suite everywhere through a browser, through your mobile devices, and of course on your desktop. They also wanted a really full-featured calendar, not just showing resources, but other stuff like tasks and projects and employee schedules and notes and things like that. So we've got that. They also needed their people to be able to log time into projects. And so we've got the quick log module. We've made that accessible now in our web glancer. And I'll talk more about that. And then digital asset management. We've made some really big improvements to that in Studio Suite XI. And the next one is production budgeting. That's a fairly complex topic. And so we've done a lot of improvements there in XI. And then there's a lot of smaller things that aren't worth their own whole theme. So I'm going to dump a whole bunch of things into that section. And then finally, pricing. We've really tried to make that simpler to understand. And so we'll get into some of these. The first theme there, of course, is accessibility. So let's take a look at that. So the first thing there is you probably know that we run inside FileMaker Pro. There's 3 versions, Solo, Pro, and Network. And then in Studio Suite X, we introduced the ability to access it from an iPad and an iPhone. And that was kind of a beta test, but we've done a lot of improvements in this version. It's actually usable with XI. And then there is our web glancer, which we've always had before, which is a free, unlimited, read-only, secure browser access to Calendar. And in this case, it's a total rebuild, much faster, really nice. Contacts, tasks, library, and web request we've now bundled into the web glancer. And as I mentioned a minute ago, quick log is now part of web glancer. Again, a free ability for your staffers and freelancers to log their time into projects. But the really big news is WebDirect. We're using FileMaker's WebDirect technology to provide full access to Studio Suite via browser from anywhere. So those are some pretty big things. So now I'm going to hide my slides and let's go into Studio Suite. And we're talking about accessibility. So I want to now also bring in my iPad. And this is kind of a little bit of a parlor trick, but I just want to show you how this works. So I'm going to also come into Chrome. And basically, we've got the whole story here. Here is Studio Suite running in FileMaker. Here it is running on an iPad and an iPhone. And here it is in a browser. And I'm going to show you more of these tricks in a minute. But what I want to do is from this browser, say, hi, webinar, right there. And I'm going to click out of that. And as soon as I do that, that's going to make it appear on all of my other devices in a matter of seconds. So watch that as that goes. So there it is on the phone, there it is on the iPad, there it is on the desktop. I didn't have to do any kind of refresh anywhere. It's just like that. So now I'm picking up my phone and I'm going to say hi back, typing this on my phone. And as soon as I do that, we're going to see that instantly appear on all the other things. So that functionality extends to things like changing your session start times and your statuses and your tasks and your contacts and your communications and all that stuff. But that's just kind of the easiest way to show it from there. So this is Studio Suite WebDirect. I'm just going to give you a quick tour around here for a little bit. So jumping into contacts, we can see that the interface is very similar to what you're used to. I'm going to jump back to the main menu. From here, I'm just going to jump into projects. And here we can see all the stuff that you would normally be able to see in a project. So I can scroll around, look at all of these. I can come into one of these items and certainly edit it. So come back to a smaller one. So here's a Coke commercial, and maybe I just want to, or there's Comedy Nation. So I'm just going to adjust the time on this. And notice one of the new features is you can adjust these times right in line. It doesn't have to bring up a little editor window there to be able to um, do it, then you have to click OK on it. So I've just done that, and of course, because I've done that in one of these windows, it's affected everywhere else on the desktop, the iPad, the browser versions, and so on. So the other part that I want to show you is accessibility through our web glancer. So again, this is the free thing, the read-only thing. I'm going to click on contacts, and this is going to bring me in and let me search for, I always like to look for myself. So there I am. So here's my contact record. And then let's go into, say, the library module. Maybe I want to look for a video we've got in there called launch, if I can spell it right. So here is a particular library record, and then we can see the details of that. Calendar, let's look at that. So here is the read-only calendar. Notice it's nice and big and also nice and fast. We can just scroll around, get into what we need. We can hover over, see the details of everything. And this is a little sneak peek of what we're going to look at in a minute when we get into the more detailed version. But note that we can turn on and off daily notes and resources and projects. So now we're looking at these projects. I'm going to turn projects off. Now I can see tasks. And the black outlined items are employee schedules. So in the square colored ones are tasks. So I'm going to turn those off. And there's my employee schedules. So now I'll have nothing in the calendar. Let's go back to resources. So read only in the calendar for free. All of your people can see this. And then, of course, there's also the two-way sync to Google Calendar in terms of access. Any change that we make in here is going to get reflected back in Studio Suite. So here is the iPhone. I'm going to wake this up again. And so this is the full access version using FileMaker Go, but there's also a Web Glancer mobile version. So I'm going to go into my browser. So let's go into contacts. Same deal applies. I can search for Joel, and there I am. In a second. There I am. So now I want to go look at calendar. And notice here I can just scroll around through my days very quickly and see what's going on. This is read only, but if I want to go into one of these and see the details, it's all right there on my phone. Okay, so that's the story about accessibility. I think the next thing on my slideshow is calendar. So here, this is a total ground up rebuild. You just saw some of it. Modern Fast shows lots of different things. Can show your resources, your daily notes, your tasks, your employee schedules, your projects calendar. And it's fully accessible from the read-only web glancer, which we just saw, and the two-way sync to Google Calendar, which we just saw. So I'm going to hide this. And then I'm going to come into the desktop version and show you a little bit more about this. So we've got a bunch of different views here. This is what we call the timeline week view. If I want to go into a particular day, I can see things here. I can slide them around. I could also reschedule. Now, that one item has other things related to it on the same project. So it's asking me if I want to apply that change to the other items, and I'm going to click no. And I can also drag things up or down. So if I want to put that into a different room, I can just drag it up like that. And as I just showed you, we can turn these different things on or off. So some people don't care about employee schedules, so that's gone away. One of the best new features of this new calendar, though, is the projects. So I'm going to scroll down here and kind of explain this. So the top one's in gray. This is our resources. The green section is projects. And so we can see the rounded bubble items are resources within those projects. And then the square cornered items are what we call project banners. So if I go into this Coke commercial, I'm going to shift click on this banner there. That'll take me into the project. And then down at the bottom, we've got a couple date ranges. So there's a user specified date range, which is the 16th to the 18th. And then there's a calculated range, which is the 16th to the 17th. So the point here is that we're basically saying that we think this project is going to go till the 18th, even though we don't have anything scheduled on the 18th. So if I jump back in my calendar, I'm going to be able to see, I'm going to go to the week view to get to this, down to Coke. So I'm going to look at this Coke commercial. You can see I've got resources scheduled on the Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's going out to a longer period. So that's just nice to be able to see a little bit more information about that. And of course, if I hover over that, it shows me some of those details. So there's some other views, of course. Here's the month view, month timeline view. There's the traditional views that you would expect to see. Let's go look at a traditional month. Traditional week view, which looks kind of like, oh, hey, let's go to the current range. Clicking on the date range, by the way, brings you to today. And a current, let's go to the day view. So this kind of looks like your Google Calendar or your iCal. And then we can navigate around to different months this way. So if I want to jump into anything, and we see in this little calendar in the upper left when we've got things scheduled, and I can just click on any particular day in whatever view I'm in to get to that range. And then when we've got a bunch of resources, notice I've got a lot of these resources here. Maybe my name is Andy Engineer and I just want to view mine. So I can just click on my schedule and that's just going to show me my stuff. Maybe I want to see what Eddie's doing. So within whatever that preset is, I can either view all of them or just my particular one. And then we can even set up other presets. I just want to look at my equipment, how it's scheduled over this period. And here is just my equipment in the gray area. And maybe I want to look at people. I think you get the idea. So that's basically the calendar. I'm personally really excited about it. So the next thing that we've got to show you, if I go back into my slides. So the next one is Quick Log. And as I've said 5 times, this allows your staffers and freelancers to log their time into projects. This also is a major rebuild. And one of the things that's great about it is you can add multiple different resources to multiple projects. And the best thing is that it's accessible for free in the web glancer and it doesn't occupy a seat. So let's take a look at Quick Log. So let me explain how this works. So on the left side, we've got resources. We haven't selected any yet, so they're not showing. On the right side are all the projects that are going on this week. And if this was a big list, I could certainly search. Maybe I wanted to look for something that had SERIAL. So there's serial comedy. And I'm just going to, nice and easy. First, I'm going to pick a time. I could do that afterwards, but I like to do it first. So I'm going to say add me. So I've just added myself there. And now I'm going to maybe add a piece of equipment to that. And so I want to filter this down to cameras. So I'm going to book a camera on the serial comedy project also. And so we can see how those things are just getting added down the bottom. Now I'm going to look at something called, I think I had a serial drama. It's kind of a joke. I like that. So add me to that. So I'm adding all those things and then I go, okay. And all those things are now going to get instantly added to those projects. So that's a really pretty nice feature. Again, I will say it one more time. This is for free. All of your staffers can click in here, add their time to this from anywhere through a browser. So the next thing that we're talking about today is digital media asset management. So we've done a lot of work on this one. So it used to be that we would store a path to where the file was on your computer. But if it was a laptop and you closed it, it would go away. Nobody else would be able to have access to that. Or you could store that file within the database. And of course, that would balloon the size of your database and you wouldn't really be able to have respectable size backups because every time you back up, it would back up all of that audio and video, which would be kind of crazy. You don't want that. So now the linked digital assets are automatically stored on the Studio Suite server. I'm going to show you how this works. And it automatically will create module and project specific folder hierarchies. Actually, I meant to say module and record specific folder hierarchies. And these assets can be added or accessed from any network desktop, iOS devices from anywhere, browsers from anywhere, and it's doing the backups intelligently. It's going to back up the file one time and then keep pointers to it. And one really kind of new thing we just slipped in here at the last minute, totally unrelated but somewhat similar, is we're now have the ability to track play counts of some of those digital assets that you've got posted up on YouTube or Wistia or Facebook or anything like that. So the attachments from every computer are automatically transferred to a specified folder on the server and intelligently parsed into subfolders specific to each module and each record in the database. So here's 3 computers in 3 studios, Edit 1, Edit 2, and Mix 1. And all of them are, of course, connected to the Studio Suite server. And when they add a file into Studio Suite, it's going to put them in a folder that's named automatically and appropriately. For, say, project number 1, it'll name it like that. And of course, as I mentioned, this works on your mobile devices as well. So let's watch this go. So maybe I'm on the phone and I'm out on location and I'm recording a video. And this is kind of a silly example, but it makes the point. It would work with any file from any device. But I'm going to make a video and it's going to automatically get sent to my server into the correctly named folder. And then from there, it's going to be accessible to maybe the editor who's working in the edit room one, and he's going to produce a fantastic edit of that video. And then he's going to save that back into the project 2 folder, so we've got versioning going on automatically. And then the producer, who's looking at it on his iPad, can see that same file that the editor just worked on, which is now saved nicely on the Studio Suite server. And one of the neat little tricks we've added here is that these can now all be encrypted. So if you're worried about security, those file structures can be hidden and made inaccessible to people that shouldn't be seeing them. So now you're thinking, okay, so we've got all these audio video files stored on the server somewhere. How are we going to deal with this in terms of backup? So let's look at that. Only the lightweight data, your project names and dates and things like that, they're going to be backed up on the hourly basis, and your heavier audio video files are backed up once. So that green line is the first time, and every subsequent backup, it's basically going to store a pointer to where that original file is. So we save a lot of drive space that way. So the next thing, oh yeah, I'm going to show it to you. Let's make this nice and big so you can see it. Oh, and the other thing I need to do is I'm going to bring in the window of my server. So it's right there. So that's another computer called, my server's called Endeavor. And just briefly, the hierarchy, we can see that here's a bunch of Studio Suite files, and we've got previous versions on there, excuse that. So here's the Studio Suite XI library folder. The attachments is where these are all getting stored. There's a separate folder for every module. And then within each module, there's a separate folder for every project. So let's go to my iPad in the background here. I'm going to go to the More Info tab. I don't know if you can see there, I'm holding my thumb on the More Info tab. And then I'm going to go over to the Attach an FTP tab. This is weird cursoring with the two hands. And what I'm going to do is create a new file on my iPad on project 107. So I'm going to open that up. So there's the folder. Clicking in there. So there's some files already. I'm going to go back to my iPad. I'm going to click on File, tap to insert it. And because I have a big ego, I'm going to take a picture of myself. Hi, that's me. So I'm going to use that. And then I hit OK. And in a second, we're going to see that file appear. There it is right there on the server, as if by magic. So I'm going to put the iPad down. What I should have done was also had in the background that actual project. Which one was that? That was 107. So here it is. So notice we've got an underline on the Attach an FTP tab. Got to get to the right one, sorry. And so there's the file, automatically showed up in there. It's automatically on the server, and the backup is going to only back it up one time. And of course, we can access it from everywhere too. If I want to see myself, I can open it up. And if this were a video, we could actually play it there. But so it works with audio, video, any kind of file type. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. But when you really think about the scope of that, it's pretty incredible if you start putting that into use. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is production management. So we've done a lot of enhancements to the AICE and AICP production budgeting. We've included all the AICE and AICP items along with some sample rates and some summary codes. And we can now export pre-formatted AICE and AICP Excel sheets. Previously, we would just export the data and you would have to format it. So now we've got them exporting pre-formatted. And we've added project groups for organization and reporting. And also call sheets. And so at this point, please welcome Byron Martinez. And I've never done this before, so hopefully it will work out nicely when I try to transfer it over to him. Stand by, Byron.
Hi, and hello, everyone. So like Joel said, I'm going to go over some of the production management enhancement that we've made for AICE and AICP budgeting. If you are outside the States, you might not be familiar with AICE and AICP budgeting, but this will also work for any kind of budget that you currently have, wherever you're at, whether or not you're in Australia or Canada. So to begin with, I'm just going to go into our categories and items module, and I'm going to have this filter out to show me all my AICE line items. So what you'll see here is we have a header section followed by all the child items that will eventually sum up to the header section, and we'll be able to create a summary based on everything that you see. And this is totally customizable, so you can go in and change the name of any one of the line items and shorten or expand them as you find fit. So if you're a smaller production studio, you might not have a large budget, for instance, but if you're larger, then you might have multiple line items on there. So now I'm going to go back and into my productions module, and I already have a production going right now. The name of my production is Simple Truth, and if you're familiar with Studio Suite, you should know that it's pretty simple to create a production. You would just click on the new button right here, select a client, and give your production a name. My production name. Let me specify my type first. And this will, that would be the process of me creating a production. And from this point, you can add episodes. If this production, for instance, is going to run for an entire year, and you might have 10 or 12 episodes. Each project on this production, well, each episode on this production would be a project in Studio Suite, and that's kind of what I already had going on when I went to this production called Simple Truth. So I'm just going to go to all my projects. I'm going to go to the first episode, and you'll see that I have an entire AICE production, AICE template going on right here, and I have all my figures inside the system. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to create one of these. So I'm going to go back to the productions module and say I need to create episode 4. Just go ahead, click on new project, specify the name, and say I want to create this in the budget phase, and click on next. Now I need to add my AICE line items onto it, so I'm going to click on add items and filter out for all my AICE line items. And what you'll see right here are all the header sections for my AICE. So you can include all the sections if you find, if you need all the sections, or you can just omit the ones that you don't need. Like if I'm not going to do offline because that's going to go out for someone else, I can just omit that right there. But just for the sake of our argument, I'm just going to include everything and go ahead and tell the system to add all the line items from this from the AICE onto this production for me. And this is going to churn for a little bit, just simply because I think I have well over 100 line items on my AICE budget, and it's actually adding all those line items and the accompanying rate that goes along with it, and also checking for conflicts. Just in case I'm having kind of scheduling conflicts. So here we are with all our AICE line items. And at this point, this is where you're creating you're creating a budget for your client so you can get an approval for the amount, that you're asking for to do the job. And you have the ability to go ahead and email this to the client. So I'm just going to say, yes, I want to email it. And we have all our printouts right here. You're probably already familiar with this. The client will approve or deny your budget. And this is just my email template going off to my second screen. And once the client approves of it, then we can move our production into the next phase, which would be to actually move forward with the job. And a similar thing is going to happen right here, is that we have to take all the line items from the budget aspect of the job to the actual portion of it, so that we can create a difference or a variance between what was budgeted versus what is actually going to happen. So this should finish up right about now. And here we are on the actual side. And keep in mind also that depending on the length and size of your budget, that will determine the time that it actually takes for you to transfer over. So here I'm specifying that, like for instance, over in the production section, I can go down, and let me just zoom in a little bit so everybody can see this. I'm going to go down into the production section, and I can actually specify who the camera op is going to be simply by clicking this gear tool right here, going to operator, and specifying that Eddie the editor, he's going to be my camera operator. Now that we actually have some numbers for the budget and the actual side of our production, I'm going to go back to to the productions module and create a summary that'll summarize all our line items that we just created. So here we have the summaries tab. I'm going to say go ahead and create a summary. I'm going to create the summary based off of an existing project. And the project that I'm looking at is episode 4. So I'm going to go ahead and say go ahead and create that. And the system went through, created a summary, an AICE summary for episode 4. Another thing that you might want to do at this point, since I have 4 episodes running on this project, on this production, Simple Truth, I can go ahead and create what we call a master budget, which would take all the, it would summarize episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 together to create a master budget. So I'm going to say go ahead and create a summary based off of an existing project. Click on Simple Truth, which is the actual the production itself, and this is going to go through and again create a similar style AICE budget, but for so like I said, I just created a master budget for this entire production, and you can go ahead and invoice each individual episode, or you can go ahead and just invoice the entire production. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I want to invoice the entire master budget right here, and say select all for invoice, and this will take me over to our invoices module, and you'll see that we have the same line total down here. And that pretty much covered the AICE portion of things. I'm just going to go back and touch a little bit on the call sheets. For every production that you create or every project that you create, you can go to our new call sheets tab right here and say that you want to create a call sheet for this production. And this will generate, let me just make this a little bit smaller so we can see it all together, a call sheet that has multiple sections that can be rearranged. Right now, this is kind of larger than what a small production may need, but on a custom basis, we can kind of go in here and remove anything that's in excess of what you need, or we can add more if you like. And the main sections here would be your scenes and your set and scene description, and also your cast, any stand-ins that you need, any kind of background information, and any special instructions for that shoot. And this is where you would have all your call times and locations up here. And one of the things that I forgot to mention about that summary that I showed you earlier is the ability for us to export this to Excel. So I'm just going to show you what a printout of, let's just say, for instance, episode 4 might have looked like. I'm just going to go ahead and click on print this. And this will generate your summaries page for you, just like what we saw previously, and also all the line items that kind of go along with it, which is what we saw on the project earlier. And PDF, and email it to your client, or you can export it to Excel, and it'll generate an Excel spreadsheet that you can send to your, they can kind of make some modifications in the numbers if they like, and then send that back to you, and you guys can work things out. That's about it for the most part when it comes to production. So I'm just going to hand this.
Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you is the little bits. So one of them is the ability to adjust project things in line without having to bring up the edit window all the time. So I'm just going to look for one. Okay, so maybe I want to change this end time. I used to have to bring up a window to do that. Now I can do it right there. And of course, if we change one thing on a project, it wants to know if we want to apply that on other things. And that does apply to statuses too. So even though I had requested a vacation, I am now going to be confirmed. So I can make those kinds of changes again right in line. That'll save you a lot of time. Another thing is the enhanced gear tool. We had gear tool before, but we've added some things to it. First one is duplicate as child item, and this would be if you're building a budget like Byron just did, where you've got a parent thing called, say, cameraman, but you wanted to then duplicate it as a child to that and apply a real physical resource or person to that. So that's a new item. Split time we had, insert is new. We can insert a item or a blank row or text. And let's see, some other things we've got are assigned a budget code. So in that case where Byron was just making that thing, if we want to add some things and we forget to reassign them to certain budget codes, we can do that with the gear tool now. And Byron showed you how we can assign operators to different things. We can also create maintenance reports. I'm just going to do that really quick. Maybe this microphone right here suddenly had a problem, so I'm going to go create maintenance report. And this brings me up the name. The name is already there, so I'm just going to quickly say what the problem is, and then I can jump back into the project to get back, and I'll note that now has a maintenance report for it. We don't automatically change the status there because maybe it's a kind of maintenance report that doesn't affect the status. So if you want to indicate that it's now out of service or damaged or whatever, you can, but that's a manual process. So let's see. Next thing is a new way. Oh, the new way to add items. So if you've been using Studio Suite, you know there's this Add Items button where you can come in here and get really particular about items and dates and times and statuses and rates and all that stuff. And then with Studio Suite X, we added this gear tool here where you could add, kind of filter through these menus and find things like that. We thought this was a little tweezy, so we came up with this idea of, well, first I'm going to put in a date and a time. And it's got a status there. So I'm just going to click on this and then I'm going to be able to type anything that I'm looking for. So maybe I need a script supervisor, can quickly add that. Maybe I want to add an editor, EDIT. So let's get an editor. Here we go, Eddie Editor, here he is. So it's really nice and easy now to book things. You don't have 1,000 screens flying all over the place. Project banners, I mentioned that before, where you can now specify a project range, and then this range will show up in Calendar, again, outside whatever resource bookings you have. So we think that's a nice thing. Notifications, we added email to this. It used to be just text notifications, in which case you would send it like that. And then now we can do email notifications and pick whoever we want to be receiving this. And those notifications, in case you're not familiar, I can send one to go now. I want one 1 hour before the event, and I want one day before the event. So you get this kind of sequence of notifications that are going on out to these people. And then I just happen to not have anybody with SMS information in my system. We still have the Prowl, and then there's Twitter, which seems kind of silly, but it's kind of a neat way to be able to notify a whole bunch of people, maybe working on a large project, about a change without having to select 1,000 people. Okay, so that's notifications. And we added notifications for equipment maintenance. So now when we have equipment maintenance, we can send a notification to the guy that's supposed to fix that. So let's go into a particular maintenance report here. This one. And so here's notifications. So just the same way I can email or text a message to the maintenance guy that we need that thing fixed right away. Let's see, maintenance. And we've added maintenance for rooms. So if I go back to my rooms module, I can now see maintenance history tab there. That's new in Studio Suite XI. Let's talk about also books for a second. So we go to equipment. We have a lot of people building packages of equipment, camera package. And then they would want to be able to put in their like little adapters or maybe the manual or something like that, but not have to make those little accessories be resources or book. We used to call them bookable. Now they're called resources. So now instead of having to pick from 3 separate menus of existing booking things, you just hit the plus button, and then you get the choice of either picking all of your equipment, whether it's bookable or not. Like I could pick this camera that is not a resource, or I could go to all actual resources, and I could also add collections items from there as well. So just to show how that works, I'm going to make the camera come along with that, and then I can add a couple more. Just like this. I think I can do, no, it's one at a time. Okay, so that's the new way to create packages a lot easier. And in another area, we can go over and specify when we are building those packages. I can specify what rate is going to be used for them. So let me go to equipment, and I forget which item it was. It was this thing. Here, I can pick which rate is going to be used for each item when it's used in this package. So this is really more something that applies to equipment rental facilities, but it's nice to be able to have a selection of different rates available. Next, I'm going to jump back into projects and look at some of these filtering items. We used to just have category and item, but now let's see. So I'm going to filter by equipment. and maybe I want to do subcategory of cameras. So maybe I need to make a change to all of my cameras. I can filter just camera equipment, which is a nice thing. Or you can do that with staff. Maybe show me all of the lighting guys. And then there's also sorting. We used to be able to only um, sort by fewer options, but now we can also sort by status. So this is going to sort the status that way. Maybe I want to sort by price. What's the most expensive thing on this project? So that puts that at the top. And then the other thing is save as budget. So I'm going to go over to the budget view that Byron created, and he showed you how to create a PDF. But you can do it a couple different ways, actually. So maybe I want to send this off to the client and I want to capture this as a PDF. So look at my Attach an FTP tab. In a second there, it's going to be underlined, and that's because there is now a PDF of this project added right there. And one thing I didn't mention on these, the new digital asset management, is that it will show us metadata. So there anyway is the PDF, and of course we can scroll down and see all the different pages of it. We can also export that if we need to get it, because it's now stored, of course, on the server. And the thing I forgot to mention was the metadata. So as I hover over these attachments, it's going to show us all the metadata that's available for that. So here's that picture I did of myself, and you can see there that it's got some of the other photo types of metadata that belong along with it. There's one other thing I forgot to show you about the media assets that I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to go over to the library module, and I'm going to go to the asset history. So this is a video we had called SSXI launch, and here is the plays where we're tracking that. So we've got this posted in a couple different places. It's up on YouTube. So what you do is you stick your URL in here. It's also on a service called Wistia, and it works with a couple different services. This is showing us all of the times that we've captured the playlist. Then if I go over to the chart thing and I click on load line chart, I can see how the growth has occurred over time. We've got it for Wistia, Facebook, and YouTube, and I think Vimeo, but I'm not sure. And we can also filter this down to a date range. So we're kind of playing around with this. I think it's kind of neat. We'll see how that turns out. So the final thing is the interface. I hope you can see that we've tried to lighten up and clean up the interface a little bit to make it a little bit better. So that is the end of the theme 6, and then the next thing is theme 7, where we get to some pricing. So there's two kinds here. Perpetual, we've always had. It's the traditional model where you buy a permanent license, you use it until you want to upgrade. The annual support is available and recommended, and we've got financing available for that. And then everybody knows about the new trend for annual or monthly pricing, so we're going to offer that as well. It's a lower price to get started. You can renew it every year, and you always have the latest version, and the annual support is built into it. And the best part of it, unlike some other big companies that begin with A, Adobe, you get to pick how you want to do this, which is really nice. So if we get to the numbers, we've tried to make this fairly easy to understand. By version, StuSuite Solo is our student and hobbyist version. It's $400 perpetual. There is no annual version of that. The Pro is $1,200, and if you want to do that annually, it's $720 a year, or it breaks down to $60 a month. And then there's the network version, which is really kind of our flagship product. It's where we put our energy into. The server is $2,400, and then the per seat, so per number of users, $1,200, and then the annual on that is $1,440 for the server, or $120 a month, and then per seat, $720 a year. Or basically $60 a month. And you probably all know by now, StuSuite runs on FileMaker, and so that is now included in all of these prices. And if you're upgrading, that is 65% of these prices, but I think we're running a sale until the end of the month. So if you do your upgrade before the end of September, I think we're going to give it to you for 50% off, because we're nice. Finally, thank you for watching. We hope you like what you've seen. If you have any questions, please give us a ring at those numbers you see there. And we can also do a more personalized walkthrough. You can also download a demo from our site, studiosuite.com. And obviously email us if you have questions. And we have a shopping cart too. So if you want to buy it and you don't want to talk to us, just go to the site and click away. And the videos that I mentioned earlier, there's the URL for that, and you can also find them just on our videos tab. Anyway, thanks very much. And next week, reminder, we're doing another webinar on a full walkthrough of everything of Studio Suite. Well, not everything, but a lot. Thanks a lot, everybody. Talk to you soon.